The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Great. Hi everyone, my name, excuse me, is Julia. I am acting as the coordinator for Duquesne University. So thanks everyone for joining us today and for learning a little bit more about Duquesne University. We have a couple people that are helping out at Duquesne University, but you can use me as your primary person to connect with on campus if you have any questions through David and Berto. So I know everyone's on mute, but I'm more than happy to pause every couple slides to see if people have questions, and I'll definitely pause at the end for questions as well. So thanks again, and I will get started. So David is moving the presentation for me today. So David, you can go to the next slide, thanks. Okay, let's first talk just a little bit about Duquesne's national ranking and some of our really popular undergraduate and graduate programs as well. So overall, we are ranked number 120 in the US by US News and World Report. We've maintained this ranking over the past 3 years, which is really unusual for US schools, so we're very proud of that. And we have a couple programs both within our undergraduate school and our graduate school that have also received national ranking by US News and World Report. So for our undergraduates, the School of Business is currently ranked as number 151 in the US. And then for our graduate schools, our pharmacy is at number 47, our law school is at number 127, the legal writing program within the law school is actually at number 18. Our education programs are ranked at number 148, and our psychology program on campus is currently ranked at number 190. Thanks, David. You can take the next slide. Just some additional awards and recognitions that I think are really good for us to note and for us also to bring up to our students. So we're ranked number 42 within US News and World Report as some of the best value schools in the United States. This is for the 2018 edition. So we'll talk a lot about tuition as well as some opportunities for your students to gain merit-based scholarships on campus. We're ranked as one of the best 360 colleges in the US by Princeton Review. We're number 70 on Kiplinger's list of the country's best value, again, in terms of private universities within the US. And then lastly, Forbes magazine lists us as number 129 amongst the top research universities within the United States as well. Next slide. So a little bit about our campus. You're starting to see some pictures of our campus here. We're located in Pittsburgh. We have about 10,000 students on campus, so a relatively small student body. About 6,000 of those students are undergraduate students, and the majority of our students on campus. And the breakdown is about 4,000 students between our graduate and our professional master's degree students. We offer small classroom settings, so most of our class boasts about a 14:1 student to faculty ratio. So that's about 28 to 30 students in our average class size. So a lot of opportunity for your students to get one-on-one attention. We're located right in the heart of the city. You can kind of see it in this picture here, but we do a lot to keep our students on campus. So we offer about 200 student organizations on campus, and a number of those are focused on international student opportunities as well. We'll talk specifically about the programs that are most likely of interest for your students, but we have about 80 undergraduate degrees on campus. We'll focus on the most popular. We have about 85 graduate programs and doctoral programs on campus as well. Next slide. So what makes us special? What makes Duquesne unique and something different when you're talking about us to your prospective students? So first off, we're definitely recruiting for both undergraduate and graduate students, but we offer both undergraduate pathway and graduate pathway options into our programs as well. So we'll definitely talk a little bit about those for your students that don't meet the English entry requirements. We have 750 international students on campus. You can remember we have about 10,000 students on campus as a whole. And that student body is made up of about 85 different countries. So we have a very diverse student body, and students have the opportunity to interact with students throughout the globe. 93% of our students are working within the field that they graduated from within 6 months of graduation. So we boast a really high graduation and career placement rate. And again, Pittsburgh, we're located right in the heart of the city, but we do have a campus that's fully enclosed. So while students on campus, it feels like a very traditional US campus, but then immediately outside of our walls, we're in the heart of Pittsburgh. And it's really great to note that Pittsburgh is going through this period of revival, and it's really considered to be a vibrant and safe city. It's recognized in the world as one of the most livable cities here in the US. It's a very welcoming atmosphere, extremely diverse, and it also allows our graduates a lot of professional opportunities, which we'll talk about. So that also grants your students that are currently enrolled access to internships within Pittsburgh at the same time. Next slide, please. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with Pittsburgh, it is definitely not one of those cities that you oftentimes hear of when you're thinking of international student locations. So I wanted to ensure that we include a map of where it's located in the US. So it's how you can see here as a star, it's within Pennsylvania. And I've listed some of the cities that you're probably more familiar with. So Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago. And the good thing to note here is that Pittsburgh is really just 2 hours away from any one of these major metropolitan cities on the eastern seaboard. So just a quick flight to any of those locations. The Pittsburgh airport is an international airport. It's ranked as one of the best international airports in the U.S. It's actually amongst the top 5. So that means that your students can arrive to Pittsburgh's International Airport and can be on campus just within 20 minutes. There's no need for your students to transfer. There's no need for your students to be taking long commutes once they've actually arrived in the US to get onto campus. It's really easy for our students. Next slide. So again, this idea that Pittsburgh is America's most livable city, and we like to say that because it really does afford students the opportunity to do things like internships when they are currently enrolled. It allows students postgraduate work opportunities immediately upon graduation. But the reason why it's most livable is because of its size. You can see here, it's a really pretty picture of Pittsburgh, but it's all sort of located on this small peninsula with a couple of bridges leading into it. So it's easy for your students to walk around. It's ranked as one of the most safest cities in the US, which therefore then makes Duquesne campus ranked as one of the most safest urban campuses within the United States. We also boast an affordable cost of living compared to some of those larger American cities like Boston or New York City. So for those of your students that are, on a budget, like most students are, this is definitely a more affordable option for those students. And once again, if I could kind of take you and lift you up and put you right in the middle of our campus, it's kind of right in between all of these buildings. So we're located just a 5-minute walk from the downtown financial district. So it really allows students to, again, be part of a more traditional campus setting, but have the opportunity to be in a city atmosphere as soon as they leave our campus. David, do you think I should pause now as a break or kind of wait till the end for questions? It's really up to the group.
Okay, well, let me ask them. If anyone has any questions or any comments that you would like to ask at this stage, feel free to do so. You can do so in Spanish using the question or chat boxes in the bottom of the control panel, or in English, whatever feels more comfortable with you.
Great. All right, silence is usually a good thing, so.
Yep.
I'll do that, and I'll just pause again in a little bit to see if anyone has questions once we start to get into academics. So just some life on campus and some snapshots of our campus here. You can see our library in the top left, an example of our student dorms in the middle here. You can see our new rec center in the middle, the ladies on the treadmill. It's a brand new facility on campus. So we offer about 7 living learning centers on campus. We do make it mandatory that all undergraduate students actually live on campus for their first 2 years. This is a great way for your students to kind of integrate into the Duquesne community and to ensure that they feel fully comfortable on campus. So it's an important part of being a Duquesne student. Again, we have over 200 student organizations, whether those are more academic focused, student government, spiritual. Again, we have a lot that is focused on our international population and offering them the opportunity to teach us about their culture and to bring it into our Pittsburgh community. And we have a lot of volunteer opportunities as well. We do a lot to give back to the Pittsburgh community since we're sort of housed right in the middle of the city. Good for next one, David. Great. Okay, so now that we've talked about some of the fun stuff, let's talk a little bit more specifically about the academic opportunities for students on campus. And I know from talking to David a lot that most of your students are looking for undergraduate opportunities, but I will talk a little bit about graduate opportunities today too. And we can talk more specifically at the end about any of these programs that you think are particularly interesting for your students. But we do offer 9 academic schools of study on campus, and then obviously there's a number of programs that fall under each one of these school of studies. So our most popular for undergraduate students are obviously a variety of the programs that are within our liberal arts programs, our School of Education, our nursing program, our pharmacy program, and our business program, again, for undergrad is ranked at number 151, so very popular. We can go to the next slide, please. So some examples of those undergraduate programs that that David and I have talked about that are high demand programs for your market would definitely be health management, computer management of medical records. This is much more focused on the new process here in the US for maintaining an office and for housing medical records. So it's definitely one of the fastest growing fields of employment, which makes it a hot market for our students on campus. Mathematics is really popular. It's a STEM program, so offers the students the opportunity to participate in an extension program and remain in the US for their OPT. Students also have the opportunity to earn both an undergraduate and a graduate degree if they enroll in mathematics. So that means that they would complete their undergraduate program, and in one more year, they would also have their graduate degree. So in just 5 years, they would have both those degrees. Management, again, is ranked as number 151 in the country. So this is your basic management course that I've listed here. But we offer a number of different programs underneath the management that's more focused in areas of student interest. So things like finance are definitely an option for students as well. We can talk a bit more about those. Integrated marketing communication. It really prepares graduates for services like in advertising, public relations, integrated marketing, communication. A lot of students work within both nonprofit organizations as well as public institutions, and it's popular on campus because it falls under our School of Management. And then lastly, our PharmD program, as you remember, is ranked really high for Duquesne. So it's an extremely competitive program. Right now, that program is closed for fall 2018, but we can already start accepting applications for the next fall. It's extremely popular in terms of students' interest, but also graduates benefit almost immediately. About 99% of our students have found jobs even when they're currently enrolled. And they have an average starting salary of about $112,000 here in the US, so an extremely popular program. It's listed as an undergraduate program, but actually once a student graduates, they have both an undergraduate and a graduate degree. Great, David, we can go to the next one. In terms of what our admissions committees are really looking for, so we do have some flexibility here, which I think is always really good to note. So David and I are always more than happy to pre-assess applications and to give you a better idea if the student might meet acceptance criteria, even if I'm not talking about it right here. So we definitely look at a student and take the holistic approach when reviewing an application. And I think that's really important to note. So we do hopefully like to see students with a 3.0 or a B average. Students with a B average or a 3.0 GPA are those that are oftentimes awarded merit-based scholarships. But we do have flexibility with our GPA. So if a student has a 2.5 GPA or higher, we can definitely still consider that student. We would look more specifically at some of the classes that might have dragged back their GPA to a 2.5. Oftentimes those students just are the ones that are not necessarily awarded any merit-based scholarship. So it's just important to note that. If you have a transfer student for undergraduate, typically those students we don't want to see below a 2.7 GPA. So just something good to keep in mind if you are submitting an application of a transfer student to Duquesne. For the IELTS or TOEFL, we're looking for a minimum of a 70 on the TOEFL or a 6.5 on the IELTS. We do have an undergraduate pathway program. We call it the Gateway program for students with lower scores, which I'll talk about in the coming slides. And we do offer full English programs on campus as well. So for those students that don't even meet the requirements for our pathway program, we do have conditional admission options for them where they can take full English level courses on campus. I know that won't be too many of your students, but just to give you that option, it's there. And then the rest is standard. So, letter of recommendation, we definitely would require. We need one of those letters of recommendation, as well as the student's SOP, a statement of purpose. We don't require SAT scores. However, if students have submitted SATs, then typically they are also most likely going to get a higher merit-based scholarship as well. So you can see I've listed only a few of the programs that do require SATs: physician's assistant, physical therapy, and occupational therapy all do require the SATs. All of those programs are closed right now for fall 18, so no concern there. But for any other undergraduate programs, no SATs are required or ACTs. Thanks, David. We can go to, next slide. So again, we do offer a pathway program to Duquesne's undergraduate programs. It's called the Gateway program. So this is an opportunity for your students that don't meet the 70 TOEFL or a 6.5 on the IELTS to still start with us, gain some credit towards their desired direct entry program, as well as taking classes in English to improve their English language proficiency. So let's actually go to the next slide, David, and it's better visually to be able to explain. Great. So there's 3 entry-level options for students. So you can see here on the left-hand side the minimum TOEFL score a student would need to have in order to enter that level of the Gateway. And then it will show you the number of students the student can expect to be enrolled in associated with that level of the program, as well as the number of courses that they would receive, the number of credits towards their degree that they would receive. So let's, for example, say that your students have a 60 to 69 on the IBT score. They would enter level 3 of the Gateway program and would most likely only need 1 semester of the pathway program before they could enter their direct entry course of choice. And during that 1 semester, they're actually gaining 8 credits towards their degree. They're automatically applied to their direct entry program of choice once they matriculate in. The good thing to note here is that your students will receive a full admit letter from Duquesne University, and their I-20 will be from Duquesne University as well. The length of study on the I-20 will just include that additional semester that the student would need in order to complete the Gateway or the Pathway program. And the offer letter would just mention that the student is first completing an English language course load in order to then move into their, for example, business program. But everything comes directly from Duquesne University. The student never needs to receive a new I-20 or a new letter of acceptance before moving into their direct entry program of choice. Again, if a student doesn't have that minimum requirement here, so a 40 IBT or a 5 on the IELTS, they can take English language courses on campus. I know that's really a small number of your students, and typically they're pretty proficient in English, so I won't really focus on that, but just to keep it in mind, and if you ever have questions on that, I'm happy to answer it. David, let's just quickly see, sometimes this slide brings up some questions, so let me see if anyone has questions before we start to talk about the graduate programs.
Sure thing. ¿Tenemos alguna pregunta en este momento? Recuerden que la pueden hacer en español y con el mayor de los gustos yo la traduzco para Julia. O si quieren hacerlo en inglés, también lo pueden hacer. Okay, so no questions at this stage.
I've scared everyone off. Then we can go, I think the next one is most likely graduates. We can go there. Okay, that's great. So some examples of our graduate programs. Again, I know this isn't a huge market, but I am happy to focus more on it and speed through it now. But some of the programs that are really high demand on campus, as well as some feedback from David that he knows would be high demand for your students. MBA in Sustainable Business Practices. We also do have a professional MBA on campus as well, but this is something just a bit more specific. It's popular because it's ranked as #3 in the world and is #1 in the United States by Corporate Knights. So a well-ranked program draws a lot of student attention. Our Master's in Supply Chain Management, also within the business school, is a leader in supply chain management education for just the past 25 years. We're actually launching a new Center of Excellence in Supply Chain Management this fall. And what that will do is it will link students directly to our graduates, so our alumni in the field, so they have better opportunities for job placements upon graduation, opportunities for internships and CPT and OPT work. It allows students to do more on campus in terms of hands-on learning within classes. So if they have the opportunity to work on a project that then would get them credit, this sort of center does allow them to do that. Biotechnology is another example of one of our programs that is a 4+1 option. So great for your students that are interested in biotech, another STEM program, and they could gain both their undergrad and graduate degree just within 5 years. And then health management, again, is such a huge business here in the United States. So I've mentioned it as one of our high demand programs. Graduates work within healthcare, or they also work within the business industry. It's really a blend of both when it comes to the curriculum. So it offers students the opportunity to go in one of the two industries. Next slide's great. In terms of our PG admissions requirements, it's a bit more specific to program than it might be for the undergraduate degree. But in terms of just generally what we're looking for is that all of our programs do require GREs or GMATs. So those are required to be submitted at the time of the application. TOEFL requirement is somewhat higher than the undergraduate requirement. So it's an 80 and a 6.5 on the IELTS. Letters of recommendation, at this point, we require 3, and a bit more of a robust SOP for our graduate students. So again, it's a bit more specific. You all should be able to use David or myself or look at the cheat sheet that we kind of all look at together if it comes to more specific admissions requirements for graduate students. We're also happy to pre-assess students if you have any questions if they meet a specific program's requirements. Next slide's great. So we do offer a graduate pathway program for select graduate programs as well. So you can see here that we offer it for about 6 of our programs. Actually, I'm sorry, 5 of our programs. So biotech, our MBA in professional studies, and our music performance, music and arts and technology, and corporate and integrated marketing communication. So we offer it for these 5 programs. It's different. It's structured just a bit different than the undergraduate program. So we do require that a student has its one entry level between a 6 and a 6.5 on the IELTS score. They're then evaluated when they get onto campus to determine if they need a 2 to 3 semester program. They're taking at least 6 academic classes during this period that are later applied to their full admit program as well. The only thing here is, unlike the undergraduate program, we do require students to then retake the IELTS or the TOEFL, as well as the GREs or the GMATs, before they can matriculate into their direct entry program of choice. So in the undergraduate program, there's no additional testing needed. But for the graduate pathway program, we do require our students at the end of that 2 or 3 semesters to take the TOEFL and IELTS or the GRE or GMATs, depending on their program of choice. When the students enrolled in the pathway program, they're also enrolled in courses that are helping them prep for the TOEFL and IELTS or the GREs as well. So they're getting some help in order to do well on those programs, and on those tests. Great, David, we can go to the next slide. This just gives you an idea of, a student that what their semesters would sort of look like. We can come back to this if anyone has any more further questions on graduate programs, David, so I think we can skip for now. Great. So tuition and fees, the big one. And this is a lot of information on this slide, so I know that you all have access to the slideshow as well, and if you have any questions, let me know. But I've listed out everything for every one of our program offerings. So whether it's undergraduate, the undergraduate gateway program, which is that pathway program, graduate pathway, and then also just straight English language. So the thing that's important to note is there is some variance for the graduate degree programs just based on the actual student's program choice. So that cheat sheet that we can make available to you does list out more specifically by program the cost per program. I listed out housing prices as well. So for graduate and graduate pathway programs, obviously most students do choose to live off campus within Pittsburgh. So we just ask that they show proof of living of $12,000 in order to receive the I-20. For undergraduate students, those students are required to live on campus for the first 2 years. So you can see that the on-campus price is $12,114 per academic year. So that's 2 semesters. But a student automatically receives a $4,000 housing scholarship. So that immediately brings that cost down to about $8,114 per academic year. So significantly drops the price. And the students don't need to do anything to receive that housing scholarship. It's automatically within their offer letter, and it's automatically applied to their I-20 as well as their student bill. There's some ancillary costs like health insurance, books, and supplies. Typically, this runs a student about $4,000. And then again, we do offer merit-based scholarships to students. So typically, students with a 3.0 GPA or higher are eligible for a merit-based scholarship between $5,000 to $18,000, and we apply that per year. This is solely for our undergraduate and our undergraduate gateway students. Our graduate students are not eligible for a merit-based scholarship. However, in the coming slides, I'll show you a list of programs that offer an immediate discount, about a 30% discount of their tuition pricing this year. There's a large number of them. Great, David, we can go to the next. Thank you. So we're flexible when it comes to our application deadlines, minus a few of our programs, like I mentioned, physical therapy, occupational therapy, physician's assistant, those high demand, and pharmacy, those high demand programs are all capped for 2018, for fall 2018. And we can be flexible on most of our deadlines. We oftentimes say that there's a June 15th application deadline for both undergraduate and graduate as a way to sort of push students and to not let them wait too long. I know a lot of your students will still be receiving final high school degrees, and that's fine. We can take looks at applications without their final degree as well. So this is a good application deadline to push out to your students. However, it's good to note that especially for our undergraduate and our undergraduate pathway, there is flexibility with this deadline as well. And then we have a May 1 deadline for deposits for both undergraduate and graduate. Again, it's a soft deadline. It's something that we use to push students so that we can get a better sense of who's committed to Duquesne University for the fall and to ensure that we have enough seats in each class. But it is more of a rolling basis also. Thanks, David. We can go to the next. So this is in reference, and I misspoke, I apologize, a 25% tuition discount on these below programs here. So we have about 30 programs in our graduate school that offer 25% tuition discount. This is automatically applied to students that are admitted to these programs. No additional paperwork is needed. It's not listed as a scholarship for the student, but it is noted as a discount on their I-20. And these programs that offer this do vary year to year. So these are the schools that are offering it this current year. We can go to the next one. Thanks, David. Great. So just a little bit about our students and kind of what they're doing on campus and testimonials. So again, we're really proud of our career placement rate, and 93% of the graduates have indicated that they have found a position where they're working directly related to their field of study or to their major. 30% of our students are attending graduate schools after they have graduated, and all of these different programs, as you can see here. So we do offer students the opportunity to connect with our career services department as soon as they're on campus as freshmen, so they can start to work towards finding internships and CPT opportunities in their later years. Thanks, David. We can go to the next slide. A list of some of our employers. You recognize probably a lot of these. I know they work with a lot of the Educo portfolio partners. So a lot of these are actually located within Pittsburgh, which is great. So students have the opportunity to do both internships, which is a way for them to secure jobs after they've graduated. So some big names here, and some great employer opportunities to mention to your students. So just linked out rather, just some great testimonials from our students from Latin America. So you can definitely use this slide when you're meeting with students and with families. Just provide these links to your students so that they can hear a little bit more specifically from students that are coming from Latin America and about their experience on campus. We do have a huge constituency of Latin American students on campus, so it's really great that they've come back to us and been willing to sort of talk about their time on campus, their transition from home to being in Pittsburgh, and why they're so happy on campus. So I definitely recommend after today listening to these briefly, and then also just providing the links to your prospective students so they can hear more specifically from those students also. Great. So, of course, we're still accepting applications for fall 2018. Undergraduate admissions, we typically can get you a pretty quick admissions turnaround time, which is fantastic. So some reasons why your students really should apply to Duquesne University or should consider us as an option for this coming fall. Again, we're ranked as number 120 in the US among best universities by the US News and World Report. We offer an undergraduate pathway program for your students. We're located in the heart of Pittsburgh, which offers students that opportunity, again, to be part of a more traditional campus feel, but then have access to a large city. We have a number of STEM eligible programs, so allowing students the opportunity to remain in the US under STEM extension and work for a longer period of time. We offer that undergraduate merit-based scholarship as well as a housing scholarship for students. And we really say that our motto is education for the heart, the mind, and the spirit. So really a holistic approach to education and the experience for our international students on campus. I've listed my contact information here as well as my Skype ID. So if you ever have students that want to talk to me specifically or want to maybe talk to a student on campus, we can definitely do that. So never hesitate to keep to add me on Skype or to connect with me on Skype, and I'm happy to meet with your students. I've linked out my Educo email here as well, and I can always put you in touch with anybody else on campus if there's a question I can't answer. So thanks everyone again for listening. I'll pause and see if there's any final questions and go from there.
Thanks, Julie. Actually, I do have a question, and the question comes from some of my conversations with agents when I do visit their offices and so forth. And it's always about whether we can accept English-only students or not. Can you comment on this a little bit?
Yeah, that's really great. I wasn't aware of that. So, of course, yeah, we can submit an application straight to the English Language Center on campus. It's a little bit, David, of a different application process than we typically have for our undergraduate students. So a student would complete an application solely for the English Language Institute on campus. they would receive a letter of acceptance to that English language program. And then they could take classes on campus. I know that Educo also offers commission for English students as well. So yeah, that's an option, and I will work to get you an application if that's something that agents are interested in.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Yeah, that would be amazing, because sometimes agents do have the student that would just like to go to experience the city and just for the English program. And probably once they're there, they can just start exploring the campus and falling in love with the campus, and then extending their enrollment and their stay in the United States to continue their undergraduate studies or postgraduate studies. So it's always a good option to have out there.
Yeah, and it's even a good option for maybe a student who, wants to start in English language courses, and then once they're on campus, they say, hey, I want to stay here. You can then apply to be in the pathway program when you're already on campus as well. So you don't have to necessarily think about, okay, I'm going straight from English language into my direct entry program of choice. You can have that sort of middle zone where you're taking some English language courses as well as some credit-bearing courses towards your degree.
Excellent. Thank you, Julia.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we have any further questions at this stage.
All right. Well, again, everyone has my contact information here. I'm more than happy to connect, or if you think of anything right after we get off, I am on for a bit longer, so don't hesitate to Skype me, and I'm happy to connect. And thank you again for taking time out of your day to listen in, and thanks, David, for setting this up.
Absolutely, Julia. Thanks everyone for attending. And just a couple of reminders. Recuerden que en las próximas 2 semanas vamos a tener unas sesiones en donde, si tienen estudiantes interesados en la Universidad de Duquesne, vamos a, en compañía de Julia, poder ofrecerles lineamientos frente a si sus aplicaciones son viables o no, y a darles una idea general o lineamientos generales frente a las posibilidades que tienen para obtener una beca. Entonces, si tienen estudiantes que están en este momento interesados en la Universidad de Duquesne, deben preparar sus notas, su diploma y completar un formulario de aplicación que no tiene ningún costo para que podamos hacer esta sesión con cada uno de ellos. Pienso que es una herramienta muy interesante que les va a ayudar a empezar a decantar los perfiles que pueden aplicar para la universidad. En segundo lugar, recuerden que el video y la presentación que Julia utilizó en la tarde de hoy la vamos a compartir en un rato más para que ustedes puedan replicarlo a sus colegas, para que puedan revisar toda la información en más detalle. Y nuevamente, como Julia bien lo decía, si tienen preguntas, si tienen comentarios, pueden dirigirse directamente a Julia, o ya saben dónde encontrarme en los canales usuales a través de correo electrónico, a través de Skype o a través de WhatsApp. Así que nuevamente, mil gracias, Julia. Thank you so much for your time and for this amazing presentation, and we will be chatting very, very soon.
Sounds great. Thank you guys so much.
Righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.